Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Bhageshri Mehta. When you are writing, it is equally important to take into perspective how a reader is going to absorb or just view your writing. And that is when an editor comes into the picture, or that is when editing comes into the picture. You try and bring your writing to the same level as how the audience would perceive it. In today's video, I shall be sharing a few tips on how you can edit your own work. So yes, let's get started. The first tip is to maintain uniformity across the tenses. You would be seeing a lot of times that the tenses are changed in the same paragraph. Now do not do that until and unless you genuinely need to kind of shift. If you're narrating something from the past, it is fine to kind of come back to the present tense. But if you are narrating something that happened in the past, do not suddenly jump to the present tense. For example, Mary was very particular about running errands. She is very good at picking up daily essentials. So basically, if you're talking about Mary in the past tense, you continue talking about her in the past tense and do not jump to the present tense, because that really confuses the audience. The audience doesn't know whether to imagine Mary in the past tense or in the present tense. Like Stephen King says, that the road to hell is paved with adverbs. I'm not really saying that adverbs are, they do nothing good, but most of us tend to use adverbs unnecessarily. They don't really add any value to our writing. If you're trying to say that she did a brilliant job, try and not write it as she did her job brilliantly. The best way to understand if an adverb is required or not is to try and envision the sentence or read aloud the sentence without the adverb. And if you feel that you can do without the adverb, then it's best to leave it out. Just try and avoid hinting at the obvious. Something like, she held a cup of milk in her hands. Over here, you don't really need to mention that she held it in her hands. It's naturally assumed. Please make sure that there is just one space left between two words. You do not use any space before using a punctuation mark. So be very mindful about that. When you're using a hyphenated word, there is no spacing required. A lot of us may think that this can be overlooked. This is a very trivial error, but this does kind of impact how the reader views your writing. I have mentioned this earlier as well. Do not form very long sentences. They often end up confusing the reader because they're trying to find a link between the first line and the fourth line of the sentence goes on for 6 to 7 lines. So break up your sentences, form shorter sentences. But this does not mean that you only write using short sentences. Your writing should be a mix of short sentences, long sentences, long in the sense nothing more than ideally 3 to 4 lines, or any medium length sentences which are 2 lines to 2.5 lines. So try and have a mix of all of that. Usually when you want to start a piece of writing or say a new chapter, you would want to start with an exclamation, an exclamatory sentence. If you're writing a shorter piece of work, you would want to gently start off with say a shorter sentence, just to grab the audience's attention in a way that makes your writing more gripping. So yes, so make sure writing has a mix of every type of sentence. This will just have the right kind of flow in your writing. Do not use jargons unnecessarily. If there is a technical word that you need to include, then try and understand if it is really important in your plot or in your story. If you think you can do without it and maybe say a simpler term, if you can do with a simpler word, then try and stick to that. And if you think that it is unavoidable to kind of use the jargon, then just try and give some context before you add it. I have seen a lot of people count the number of lines that they've written before adding a new paragraph. Now this ideally is not at all required. You may have a 3-line paragraph or a 4-line paragraph, but just ensure that every time you're adding a new point or trying to involve a twist or something of that sort, just add a new paragraph. This will also give the audience a reminder that something new is coming up, and it also gives a necessary pause to your writing. Another important tip is to make sure that you just don't use active voice or passive voice while writing. Your writing should be a mix of active voice as well as passive voice. So simple example of active voice and passive voice would be, Tina brought chocolates from the car. And the passive voice would be, chocolates were brought from the car by Tina. You're using the subject of the sentence in the object of the sentence. A reader should not really get bored, or your writing should not become predictable. A lot of times using a sentence in a certain way adds way more essence to the whole narration bit. The last tip is always use a capital letter when you are kind of quoting somebody, when you're starting a new sentence, when you're using the letter I. Just refer to a style guide if you're not sure about the rules of capitalization. So these were some of the tips, and again, this does not try to replace the work of an editor, but this is just to kind of ensure some sort of consistency in your writing. If you have any more questions or doubts, then please do not forget to leave them in the comment section below. And yes, do not forget to hit the like button, do share and subscribe to my channel. I shall see you guys soon. Goodbye.